Hey, wanted to give you all some feedback, and I thought it would be easier if I did it in a video instead of trying to type it all out. So there are two things. I just finished grading the clinical evaluation exercise one, and to move this so it looks like I'm looking at you. There were some issues with the submissions, and then I also want to talk about clinical implications in terms of the inferences that you drew based on the trends. Not that it's wrong, it's just a learning opportunity. So first, 10 of you only submitted half of the assignment. So, and it varied which half you actually submitted. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and I want to show you this. So the instructions for the assignment explicitly said that you need to upload your tally sheet, either the original screenshot or picture, and the plot file, and write in the text box what trend you observed. Okay. And for 10 of you, I got one or the other. Um, and I originally thought, well, maybe you didn't read the instructions in the assignment and you only read the instructions specific to the graph to kind of remind you this is what you're doing here with the graph. But then I got somewhere I only got the tally sheet, so I don't think that's it either. So for me, that means moving forward, I'm going to make it a point to confirm exactly what is required. You're going to be graphing a lot in this class because it does no good to have data if we're not graphing them. So I will confirm the instructions just in case there's some accessibility issues or comprehension issues. I have been doing this for 7 years, and this is the first time I've had this particular thing come up, which to me suggests it's either me and how I'm approaching talking about these assignments when I do, or there's been a shift in the cohort trends. And that does happen. That's not a good or a bad thing. As generations continue to come up, we'll see. I'm sorry. I have meetings, and if I don't have my alarm on so that I can hear it, which means I hear everything else, I miss them. But you'll see some generational trends in learning approaches and comprehension styles and things like that. It just varies, and group dynamics change and stuff like that. And so I'm suspicious that maybe there has been a generational shift. I've been doing this long enough that it's completely possible that that's what's causing this unique change. It's the first time I've ever seen it happen. If every single one of you did it, I would be like, oh, this is an issue. I'm definitely dropping the ball on something here. Every single one of you didn't. But there were also indications that suggested there might have been technical problems or accessibility issues, like maybe you don't have the software to be able to use some of the files that I gave to you, and you didn't hear me explain instructions, or maybe you weren't present in class when I explained instructions. If you didn't have Excel, how do you access it? Or those kinds of things, or maybe you can't print it out and things like that. And it's possible that you feel uncomfortable asking questions in front of the class, or you don't have time to wait because we do have class late at night to be able to ask questions, or you don't feel comfortable reaching out to me. Or you could have emailed me and you're lost in my spam box that currently has way too many that I'm trying to go through today. And by spam box, I mean my email box has become a spam box by every journal and every textbook publisher and every core lab in the world for some reason. Doing everything I can to try to fix it, but I get like 100 emails a day. So it doesn't take long for me to quickly fall behind or to miss people accidentally. And I can't seem to find a way to not fix that. I can't find a way to fix it. All right. So I told you, there were large point deductions if you were missing half of the assignment. The assignment required both submissions. I want to explain why. The reason I need the tally sheet is so that I can confirm the accuracy of your data input into the graph, because that's a place where we can make mistakes, okay? Also, the tally sheet informs, and this is the second thing that we're going to talk about, the types of procrastination symptoms that emerged. So, getting to the second part of the commentary, and this is not right or wrong, just for learning purposes. But when you look at, if you're using symptom tracking with a client, if you look at their symptoms and you only look at the total tally to draw a conclusion, you're missing a lot of important information in the variation in symptoms potentially across time. And there were several of you where I literally wrote that in the notes of, yeah, you can see it looks kind of constant, but your symptoms actually changed at a specific point in the week. You went from thinking about it to literally getting up and walking away from it. And that suggests either getting distracted by environmental stuff or behavioral avoidance, which is a specific type of procrastination behavior. And I'm not judging any of you. I have so many issues with procrastination. It's just part of ADHD. But looking at that stuff when you're looking at client data may give you some more insight. You might be like, yeah, your procrastination looks like it went down a little bit more towards the end. But I notice you went from thinking about it and deciding to do it later to literally starting it and getting up and walking away. Or there were a few of you who, at very specific times during the week, experienced a sense of being overwhelmed, where it was like, the assignment's too hard, I'm just walking away from it. And I don't know what assignments you're referencing. They could be mine, they could be from another class. I don't know, because it just literally is asking about work in general. So that would be important as a practitioner to be able to talk to your client about that and be like, I noticed this changed on this particular day of the week. Can we talk about that a little bit? And it could be that something is happening, in the environment that needs to be addressed. And by, like, what if they're trying to do schoolwork on the only day that they have time, but they're surrounded by kids, right? And they don't have any time blocked off where they don't have distractions. Or what if they have to do their work, on a break while they're at their office and they're never actually allowed a break, or they can't mentally compartmentalize to be able to separate from the job to the schoolwork, that kind of thing. Or maybe it's just when they do sit down to do it because they know they have to do it, the urge to not do it is so intense that they're more easily distracted by other things. And a perfect example of this is, the ABD all but dissertation. It's real common for doctoral students, to the closer they get to finishing, to suddenly become the best house cleaners and organizers they've ever been in their entire life. Like, they've never done dishes, they've never done laundry, they've never organized their junk drawer, and suddenly their apartment or their house is the cleanest it's ever been, because that is a form of avoidance procrastination, right? And you would want to know that about your clients. So when you're collecting this data in this particular example, you're not just looking at the graph and the summary numbers. That gives you an idea of overall trends. But then you also look at the tally sheet to be able to consider, I did notice that I was doing this more at this time than at this time. And there were several of you that did an exceptional job of doing that, where you really thought about it. You even made it a point to include different days, like specifically the weekend, in your tracking plot file, because you were like, or your tracking tally sheet because you knew that this is when I try to do most of my work. And so this is when I'm likely going to notice if I'm actually trying to procrastinate because I schedule it this way. And then would talk about, I don't do anything on Saturdays, even though I schedule it because that's the only day that I can actually take some time for myself. And I'm completely exhausted from a week of working, internship, and school. And then commenting on what did happen on Sundays with distractions or things like that would pull them away from their work. So, so several of you did a really good job of doing that. But I just want to make it clear we do collect the data, we do plot the data, but we also consider, is minutia the right word I'm looking for? Let's say details just in case. We do consider the details of the data as well, okay? Like, why are you shifting from thinking about it to physically starting it and walking away from it? What's happening there? Tell me what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Because what if it's anxiety? What if they're feeling overwhelmed? What if they feel like they can't, get the assignment accomplished, kind of thing? Or what if it's that they're trying to force themselves to do it, but they still don't have enough of that cognitive dissonance of, I might actually not get this done and get a failing grade to force, essentially, I feel worse about getting a bad grade than I do about avoiding the work, right? Which is usually what gets us moving, that cognitive dissonance. So those were the two things that I wanted to note, okay? If there is a technical issue and I missed a file, like for some reason you thought you uploaded it and it's not present, or there's some kind of error that you're getting, or it shows on your end, but it's not mine because it didn't submit, please reach out to me immediately so that I can correct your grade and fix that, okay? I don't want anybody freaking out about this. It's okay. And then moving forward, make sure you actually open the instructions to the assignment, not just any directions I have within the individual files. Because the assignment instructions tell you everything you need to do. And if I have notes on a specific file, it's usually referencing specific to that file, just as a reminder of what you need to do. But I might need to update it again and maybe put the instructions everywhere. Could be that having multiple locations of things that you need to do and so forth is affecting you. Could also be that you're about to graduate and you're just completely cognitively exhausted. So check your grade, look at the files that you uploaded, and if there's a technical issue, let me know and we'll get together and we'll talk about it and see if we can get it fixed. If it's not a technical issue, please be mindful moving forward. I have not graded CTE2 yet. I'm going to give, let's see, today's Friday. So I'm going to wait until Monday to grade CTE2. And I'm doing this just in case. I want you to go back and check the instructions. So if you didn't have a technical issue, check the instructions for CTE2. Make sure under the content and settings for the assignment. In fact, let me share my screen and I'm going to take you there. Okay. Make sure that you actually have submitted everything that is, don't look, oh good, grades aren't there. Okay, so you open it up, you go to content and settings. It should have the instructions. So for this one, you read the attached case notes, you identify for each session the client information of trust, the client information of mistrust. You're going to note a tally for each indicator, right? So you have a plot file and you have the case note data sampling. You note the tally on each session and input the information into the case note plot file. That's this one right here. Submit your completed plot file. This is the only one you have to submit. But then you note in the assignment submission text box what trends you observed in the plot, examining data, blah, blah, blah. We've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but so for this one, you do only have one file that needs to be submitted, the case note plot file, with your interpretation of the plot. Are you saying, this is what I'm noticing, this is the trend, this is what I think is happening, okay? And then for clinical evaluation exercise 3, we talked about it, but we're going to talk about it again. For 3, you are observing the behaviors, you're counting how many times the client wrings their hands. I give you an operationalization of that. I'm going to be honest, there is no right or wrong answer because it's highly subjective. It's easy to be distracted. That's part of why we do this. 1, for you to learn how to do it, but 2, to learn the drawbacks to this specific type of clinical evaluation. You're going to mark each ring with a tally so you don't have to take your eyes off the screen. So literally have like some kind of scrap piece of paper next to you and just tally as you notice the hand ringing. 1 ringing as the hands clasped together and you observe a squeeze by one or both hands. The hands must separate and then clasp again, but for another ringing can be counted. Report your final number in the assignment submission text box. So for this one, you're literally typing in the text box. You're going to write 2 to 3 sentences about your experience as a whole and thoughts about behavior observation measurement. So what was this like for you? And then what were your thoughts about this as a whole? Okay. There is no right or wrong answer. So this is about you just having the opportunity to practice it, experience it, and then think about it, kind of mull it over, because that's part of learning as well, okay? So that gets us through the clinical evaluation exercise 3. All right. If you have questions or concerns, or you've got technical or accessibility issues, please reach out to me ASAP. I am more than happy to work through the weekend to try to resolve these issues for you all. I was surprised that so many people only submitted half of the assignment, which means that something is off, okay? So I got to figure out what that is and try to fix that for you all. So just let me know, all right? Okay, I'll see you next week. And you have until Monday. If for some reason you missed the instructions for C for the exercise 2, you have time to correct it, okay? And if for some reason it won't let you correct it, let me know and I'll adjust the attempts so that you can do so. Let's see if we can avoid this moving forward, okay? All right. Otherwise, good job, everybody. I appreciate your hard work and I hope you can enjoy your weekend.